बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। वेलकम टू नॉवल इनोवेशन अकेडमी। आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है दैट इज हिस्टोरिकल इन्वेंशंस ऑफ केमिस्ट्री। अब हिस्ट्रिकली अगर हम देखें हिस्ट्री में बैकग्राउंड में हमारे पास कौन कौन सी इन्वेंशंस हुई हैं, तो यहाँ पे मैंने नेम ऑफ साइंटिस्ट लिखा है, उसके साथ मैंने टाइमलाइन लिखी है या आप पीरियड कह सकते हैं, उस साइंटिस्ट का कंट्रीब्यूशन लिखी है और ओरिजिन लिखी है कि फ्रॉम वेयर द साइंटिस्ट बिलोंग। अब सबसे पहले केमिस्ट्री में कंट्रीब्यूशन दी थी एरिस्टोटल ने 384 से 322 BC तक, उसका टाइमलाइन था। एंड ही प्रपोज्ड आइडिया ऑफ सब्सटेंस एज अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ मैटर एंड फॉर्म। उसके अलावा ही डिस्क्राइब्ड थ्योरी ऑफ 4 एलिमेंट्स, जिसको फायर, वाटर, अर्थ, एयर, ये 4 चीज़ें थी। एंड ही वाज बिलोंगिंग फ्रॉम द ग्रीक। ठीक, फिर प्लूटो ने काम की 347 से 428 BC तक। ही प्रपोज्ड टर्म एलिमेंट एज कंपोज्ड ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक एंड इनऑर्गेनिक बॉडीज विद पार्टिकुलर शेप। एंड द ओरिजिन ऑफ साइंटिस्ट वाज आल्सो ग्रीक। उसके अलावा थर्ड जो साइंटिस्ट था डेमोक्रेटस, वो ही वाज आल्सो फ्रॉम ग्रीक से था और 357 से 460 BC तक उसकी टाइम पीरियड था। एंड ही प्रपोज्ड आइडिया ऑफ एटम एंड इनविजिबल पार्टिकल ऑफ द मैटर। उसके बाद जाबिर इब्न हयान, इसने काम किया 721 से लेकर 803 AD तक, और he invented experimental methods of the nitric acid, hydrochloric acid as well as the white lead, and he also extracted the metals from their ores and dyeing clothes, and he was Muslim. उसके बाद al-Razi, he was also Muslim. He prepared ethyl alcohol by the fermentation process and the timeline was 362 to 930 AD. फिर again Muslim scientist था al-Biruni. He worked from 973 to 1048 AD and he determined the densities of different substances. Then Ibn Sina, he was also Muslim. He contributed in the medicine, philosophy and astronomy. His timeline was 980 to 1037 AD. After that, the contributions were started from the English scientist, that was Robert Boyle. In 1627 to 1691 AD, he put forward ideas of the chemistry as systematic inventions of the nature. He also discovered the gaseous law. And after that, Scottish scientist J. Black, he discovered the carbon dioxide. And his timeline was 1728 to 1799 AD. After that, Joseph Priestley, he discovered oxygen, sulfur dioxide as well as hydrogen chloride. He was English scientist and his timeline was 1733 to 1804 AD. And after that, a German chemist Scheele, he discovered the chlorine in 1742 to 1786 AD. It was his timeline. And then the British scientist Cavendish, he discovered the hydrogen and his timeline was 1731 to 1810 AD. Then the invention was carried out in the French. He discovered that oxygen is 1/5 of the air, and he was Lavoisier, as he found that how the oxygen is important in the combustion. 1743 to 1794 AD, it was his timeline. Then John Dalton, he was also from English. He proposed atomic theory of the matter, and his timeline was 1766 to 1844 AD. Then J. Losek, he discovered that water is composed of 2 parts of hydrogen and 1 part of oxygen by volume, and he also discovered several chemical and physical properties of the air and other gases. He was French scientist and his timeline was 1778 to 1850 AD. After that, an Italian scientist Avogadro proposed Avogadro's law, which is that equal volume of the gases under constant temperature and pressure contain equal number of molecules, and his timeline was from 1776 to 1856 AD. After that, Jacques Charles, he was French. He discovered the gaseous law and his timeline was from 1746 to 1823 AD. Then Tachet, he determined the classical experimentation of the molar specific heat capacity of the certain chemical elements. He was also French and his timeline was 1741 to 1820 AD. J.J. Berzelius was Swedish chemist and he introduced symbols, formulas and chemical equations to make the study more systematic, and his timeline was 1779 to 1848 AD. After that, a Russian scientist Mendeleev, he discovered the periodic arrangement of the elements and his timeline was from 1824 to 1907 AD. And then Swedish scientist Arrhenius, his timeline was 1859 to 1927 AD. He proposed the acid-base theory and also he produced the ions of the dissociation. Then British scientist M. Faraday, he contributed to the study of electromagnetism as well as in the electrochemistry. His timeline was from 1791 to 1867 AD. Then British scientist J.J. Thomson, he discovered the electrons by the experiment. 1856 to 1940 AD was his timeline. Then Neil Bohr, he was also from British and he proposed a theory for the hydrogen atom based on quantum theory, and his timeline was from 1885 to 1962 AD. After that, Scottish chemist Rutherford, he postulated the nuclear structure of the atom as well as he discovered alpha and beta rays and proposed the laws of radioactivity. His timeline was from 1871 to 1937 AD. Then Australian scientist Schrödinger, he proposed quantum mechanical model of the atom and his timeline was from 1887 to 1961 AD. Then de Broglie, he proposed the hypothesis about wave particle and also proposed the duality nature of the electrons. He was from French and his timeline was from 1892 to 1987 AD. Indian chemist Strandranath Bose, he proposed the fourth state of the matter, जिसको हम प्लाज्मा भी कहते हैं. 1894 to 1974 AD was his timeline. Then Albert Einstein, he proposed the fourth state of matter as well. He was from German, and his timeline was from 1879 to 1955 AD. Then two chemists, they were from American, Eric Cornell and Carl Wieman. Eric Cornell was 1961 to, he is alive, and synthesized the first Bose-Einstein condensate. And this second one is also alive. He born in 1951, and he proposed the first Bose-Einstein condensate. They both worked together. Further, the inventions are many more. फिलहाल हमारे सिलेबस में इतनी ही है. तो आगे कुछ और भी किसी और टॉपिक के बारे में आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं तो आपको कमेंट कर सकते हैं. मेरी वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी हो तो आप उसको लाइक कीजिए, चैनल को शेयर कीजिए, वीडियो को शेयर कीजिए, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और बेल आइकन प्रेस कर दीजिए ताकि नेक्स्ट वीडियो आप तक पहुंच सके. तब तक अपना ख्याल रखिएगा. अल्लाह हाफिज़.